a man of great wealth and righteousness.
Job was a very rich man who lived in a land called Uz. He had 7 sons and 3 daughters, and he owned
thousands of sheep, camels, oxen, and donkeys. More importantly, Job was a righteous and holy man.
More importantly, Job was a righteous and holy man. He loved God and always tried to do what was right.
One day, Satan came to God and said that Job was only faithful because God had blessed him with so much wealth. Satan believed that if Job lost everything, he would curse God.
So God allowed Satan to test Job's faith, but he commanded Satan not to harm Job himself.
In a single day, Job lost all of his possessions.
His oxen and donkeys were stolen. His sheep were struck by lightning.
And his camels were carried off by raiders. Tragically,
all of his children died when a mighty wind struck the house they were in.
When Jesus heard this terrible news, he was devastated. He tore his robe and shaved his head in grief, but he did not sin by blaming God.
Transcription.
The Lord gave, and the Lord has taken away. May the name of the Lord be praised. The Lord gave, and the Lord has taken away. May the name of the Lord be praised. He said, the Lord gave, and the
Satan was not finished.
He went to God again and said that Job would surely curse God. God allowed Satan to harm Job's body, but not to take his life, was afflicted.
If his own body was afflicted. So God allowed Satan to harm Job's body, but not to take his life. Satan struck Job with painful sores from the soles of his feet to the top of his head.
Job was in terrible agony, but he still did not curse God. His wife told him to curse God and die.
but Job replied, "You are talking like a foolish woman. Shall we accept good from?" But Job replied, "Accept good from God and not trouble?"
Then 3 of Job's friends came to comfort him. They sat with him in silence for 7 days and 7 nights because they saw how great his suffering was. When they finally spoke, they tried to convince Job that he must have sinned to deserve such punishment. But Job maintained his innocence, and he questioned why God would allow him to suffer too much. Even though Job did not understand why all of this was happening to him,
He never lost his faith in God. In the end, God spoke to Job's and his friends.
God rebuked Job's friends for not speaking the truth about him, and he restored Job's fortunes.
Job received twice as much as he had before. He had 7 more sons.
Let her who wore a fine dress use a mic saying and shouting, and 3 more daughters, and he lived a long and happy life.
And 3 more daughters. And he lived a long and happy life.
The story of Job confronts the difficult question of why righteous people sometimes suffer.
The story of Job confronts the difficult question of why righteous people sometimes suffer.
It teaches that suffering is not always a punishment for sin.
There are reasons for what happens in our lives that we may not understand. Job's story is a powerful example of remaining faithful to God even when facing extreme loss and pain. Despite losing everything, he refused to curse God, showing a deep and abiding trust.
No matter what you are facing, don't give up. Your miracle is on the way.